BBC Radio Oxford, 17 minutes past 11, and of course it is Friday, which means there are a load of new movies that come out today in the cinema, on streaming platforms, which is why every Friday at this time I invite our movie critic Van Connor to come on the show and to just talk us through a couple of the new movies out today that he's already seen, because he's a movie critic, and just to let us know what he thinks of them, whether it's worth us watching them this weekend or not. So, welcome back to the show, Van Connor. How are you this very sweaty Friday morning?
Do you know, I'll be honest, I get no direct sunlight in my building, so I'm good. I'm nicely climatized. Also, I love how you always give me that credit, like, because he's seen them. It's like, I'm surprisingly not one of those film critics who does the reviews without having seen them, which is kind of a feather in my cap, if I'm honest.
I am glad to hear that you are one of the movie critics that gets to watch them before you talk about them. Now,
there are enough of those.
Two movies we're talking about today. So we're going to talk about The Nun 2 in a moment. But first, let's look at Past Lives. So a bit of this is filmed in, I believe, is it North Korea? South Korea.
South Korea. But very different movie filmed in North Korea.
I was going to say
it takes
that.
a bit more of a sinister bent, I think, if it's in North Korea. Although, not an uninteresting concept for a movie, if we're being honest. So, this is the debut from writer-director Celine Song, who has been a jobbing director throughout. She's been on The Wheel of Time, the Amazon series The Wheel of Time, which I haven't seen, because so many shows I haven't seen. She's done a writer-director debut here on the feature stage, and this is sort of a lost in translation style love story that follows Nora and Hae Sung, who are a young South Korean couple. They're sort of childhood first loves, and they're sort of separated by their parents when Nora's family moved to the US. They're about like 12, 13. They moved to the US, moved to New York, and she lives her life there, and he lives his life in Korea. And over the years, they start to they reconnect at different stages, at different phases of their lives, for instance. So we largely follow the present day narrative where she is married in New York and they reconnect, and it is about this long forgotten love story, as it were, but it all ties into this idea of inyon, which is a belief that any relationship is based on relationships that have formed in previous and past lives, which you'll hear in this clip.
It's an inyon. If two strangers even walk by each other in the street and their clothes accidentally brush, because it means there must have been something between them in their past lives. If two people get married, they say it's because there have been 8,000 layers of inyon over 8,000 lifetimes.
Does it have that narration throughout the whole film? Because I quite like that. There's something quite warming about that.
Actually, no, that's actually just her kind of telling her husband. It's playing over a montage of scenes. It's worth noting, incidentally, if you brush past someone you're close touch in central London, it ain't because you had past life experiences. It's mostly because you're a psycho and the other person should run away and not hurry screaming. Actually, very different movie. You've said it anywhere else in the world, this one. But really touching, really moving. Great performances from Teo Yoon and Greta Lee. I thought they were really good. I think the writing and the directing here are the standouts, though. Not that Greta Lee is not brilliant. I mean, she's a comedic performer. I know her mainly from comedies. And you and I said this previous, like, comedians tend to make great dramatic actors. Robin Williams, case in point.
Yeah.
And obviously we see a lot of horror people, a lot of great horror projects now come from people in comedy, because comedy just lends itself to darker aspects of the human condition. You get that here very much with Greta Lee, but for me this is all about the style of it, the writing of it. This is all about Celine Song, and I can see this getting talked about in the same breath, well, low-key the same breath, as things like Lost in Translation. I feel like if this came out 15 years earlier, we would absolutely be talking about it in the same sort of cadence as Lost in Translation. But I think now there will be low-level awards buzz around this, I think.
So is this in cinemas or is this a streamer?
This is in cinemas. Both of our movies this week, I'm happy to say, are in old school cinemas.
Yay. Great. Well, if you want to go and watch that yourself and make your own mind up, it does sound like a very lovely, romantic, warm film. Past Lives, you can go and watch in cinemas from today. And The Nun 2, I've not really seen The Nun 1. So talk to me. I mean, for someone who has no idea, what's this all about?
Well, I assure you, this is not moving, nor is it anywhere romantic. I can say that straight off the bat. This is a sequel to The Nun from a couple of years ago. That was set in 1952 in Romania. This is set in 1956, largely in France. And it follows Sister Irene, Taissa Farmier's surviving character in the first movie, because she's the only remaining person who dealt with the nun in the first movie. The curse is back. It's sweeping its way across Europe, and only Sister Irene has the expertise to follow this trail to where it may lead, which it turns out, as we discover minute one of the movie, is a girls' boarding school in France. So the nun is back, and just like Whoopi Goldberg, this time she's going to a boarding school. So I've got a clip for you. This will set the tone. We've even got a bit of Smashing Pumpkins in this as well.
I saw a nun.
Valak is a demon who was once an angel, who was punished by God, and has returned for you. And for what you hold most dear.
What did she do? She's standing there.
Oh, I just know from that it's a proper jumpy thriller, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a proper old-school horror movie. Like I say, it's nuts and bolts. It's meat and potatoes. It's nothing revelatory. It's not going to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. But, it's a standard 3-star, shock chiller that's made to the standard of the Conjuring series, which is always a pretty high bar. They're mainstream studio-made horror movies that are made by people who know how to make, decent chillers. This has got Michael Chavez directing it, who did Curse of La Llorona, previous one of the Conjuring series. I think he also did, I want to say it was Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, I think. And to be fair, the Paranormal Activity movies did get better as they went on. I'm not a fan of found footage, but they did get better as they went on. This is all about the atmosphere, all about the effects, all about the set pieces. And, you've got a pretty great lead in there in Taissa Farmier. I mean, she pretty much lives up to her older, because her older sister is the lead in the main Conjuring series, Vera Farmier. Plays Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring movies opposite Patrick Wilson. Yeah. And she's got the same kind of chops. I wonder if they're going to loop this in at some point and have the two characters be related somehow to explain the fact that you've got sisters playing these roles and they look so alike. It's just an odd choice. But you've also got Jacques Bocard as Maurice, or Frenchie as he was called in the first movie. He's returning. And if you know the continuity of this series, you know that opens up a whole can of worms that they do address. But, I like this. 3-star movie, some decent shocks in it. There's a great set piece involving a French sort of newsstand that I thought was really effectively done as well. There's sadly no Smashing Pumpkins in the actual movie, though. I have to say that, because it is 1956. Was Billy Corgan even alive in 56? I don't know.
That's a good point, actually. This sounds. This does sound like the kind of movie you want to go and watch at a decent cinema and get the proper jumpy bits in your seat rather than sitting at home.
It's showing in IMAX, I found out. They didn't market this as being shown in IMAX, but apparently it is showing in IMAX, which I would imagine is quite the experience. Like I say, it's all about that atmosphere. So go and get your premium sound, your big, large format premium screen going. Get the IMAX on with this one. I'd say it's a good Friday night. It's a weekend evening kind of time out of the pictures. You'll have a good time with this one, I think.
Amazing. Well, if you want to go and check it out yourself, it's out from today, The Nun 2. Okay, Van, what have we got next week? Anything that we can chat about on the show? What are you getting to see?
Well, Poirot is back next week. We've got A Haunting in Venice next week. And, we a bunch of other streamers to come up as well, because there's not really much coming out next week. There's like one movie. But so we're going to be delving into streaming, I think, a bit next week. Amazing.
All right. Well, until then, Van Connor, have a lovely weekend. And we shall chat on Friday next week with some more new movies.
Till the next time, good sir.
Thank you very much, Van. It is 11:26. Some good choices there for you to go and dive into this weekend. All right, let's get on this. It's Texas. New music, keep on talking on BBC Radio Ox.